It's always time to be kind to one another.
Hello everyone, welcome to AvgJoeWatchReviews, where we do more than just reviews. Spinnaker was kind enough to send a watch and actually gift it to the channel for me to review. But as I always do, it does not let them off the hook for an honest review because I do have a couple of minor complaints about the watch. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned and hear what I have to say in regards to this Spinnaker dive watch. But if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and also click a like, which is the most charitable way to help support AvgJoeWatchReviews. So with no further ado, let's dive into the review. So as soon as I took this Spinnaker out of its box, the watch just looked like it was glowing even in the daytime. And this is due to the generous amount of luminescence that's on the indicators, on the bezel, and on the dial, the handset, including the tip of the second hand. So Spinnaker did a really nice job on the lume. According to the website, they actually do not state what type of lume they use, but it definitely, according to the lume shot that I just showed you, the lume looks legit, and it's really, really done nicely, and it will last you through the night. So nice job on the lume. Now, the other thing that you will notice is that it's got a textured dial, and it actually, to me, is reminiscent of like sandpaper. Now, I know that's not necessarily a compliment, but I actually mean that in the most complimentary way, that this is indeed a textured dial. And it actually just really is, it just makes the watch stand out that much more. It just, it gives it some character, and it gives it just that uniqueness that you don't see in a lot of dials. Dials are typically either flat or they have a sunburst pattern, so this is done nicely. You do see that AR coating when I actually refract or put this into the light. You can see that blue AR coating on the underside of the crystal, and if we compare it to another watch that has AR but at a much higher price range, you can see that there's a blue tint to that as well. This one actually definitely collects the fingerprints because it also has the AR on the top. AR meaning anti-reflective coating, for those that don't know. So this particular watch has the anti-reflective coating on the underneath of the sapphire crystal, and the way that they described it on the website is a scratch resistant sapphire crystal. That's really, I mean, that's what sapphire crystal is. So what type of crystal they use on the bezel is unknown to me, but if I do find out prior to releasing this review, I will definitely put that down below. But I would have to assume a mineral crystal, but I don't know. I really don't know, so I can't say. But I know it's sapphire crystal here, and it may be even sapphire crystal back here. Not 100% sure though, but it does typically, we do see sapphire written here. I'm assuming, once again, and if I'm wrong, I'll put it down on the bottom of the screen, that this also is sapphire. But not important to me either way. Most importantly to me is that the crystal that protects the dial is sapphire. So I'm glad that we're getting sapphire at this price point. I'm actually impressed that we're getting AR coating at this price point, along with really above average luminescent as well. So very nicely done, Spinnaker, on this particular piece. Now, this piece actually is reminiscent of two watches actually. First being the Longines HydroQuest diver, but the second one would also be the Seiko 5 SNZ, which also takes its inspiration from the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. Look for this comparison in future videos, so I think that will be an interesting one indeed. Now, this watch is fully brushed in a lot of areas, and it's just done so well, I have to admit. Your edges here, you could see how it tapers down. You've got the polish right on all 4 of these corners, and then it goes right back into brushing very, very nicely. One thing that I do have a major gripe with, and that is the bezel. It is extremely hard to grip this bezel and actually get it moving. But once you do get it moving, it does have positive clicks. It does sound good, and it does have a nice tight feel. It does have a little bit of back play there, as you can see. But I'm telling you that the way that they got this watch thinner than a lot of divers is because they were able to get this bezel to be thinner. But the downside of that is that the grip of it, as you can see, you can't get a lot of, at least my particular fingers cannot get a lot of surface area, and therefore makes this difficult to turn. So for me, I find it best for me to almost kind of like pressure, almost like you're taking off a case back, and just kind of just turn it that way. And I think a lot of like actual divers would appreciate a bezel like this, but fidget spinners like myself that like to do this when you're bored, not such a fan. But the reason why, at least for my understanding, or at least my guess, is so that they can get you a thinner profile watch. So when we take the measurement here, we're actually looking at a 13. So this is actually a 13 millimeter watch. So you're actually about 12.9. So you are getting a bit of a thinner diver, because you're usually well into the 13s, usually more like 14 millimeters. So you do get a little bit of that thinness, but at the sacrifice of the functionality, unfortunately. Now your case diameter is indeed a 43 millimeter. Your lug to lug is actually a 51 millimeter. And your lug width, I had that measured at the 22 millimeter point. So some good dimensions here. We take a look at it on my 7-inch wrist, and you'll see that the watch fits very, very well. I'm very pleased with the aesthetics of the watch. It actually looks much higher end than its price tag. The watch does sport an NH35 movement, which is a very popular, durable, reliable movement made by Seiko. But hey, I mean, if it works and it's reliable, very easy to service, why not, you know? So, but I do like the fact that Spinnaker puts their own rotor on there, and it just gives it that extra flair and flavor, and it just doesn't make it feel so generic like a lot of these other brands do with that just generic NH35 rotor. So nice job with that. Another negative about this particular watch, in my opinion, is the bracelet. Not fully though, because I think the bracelet is finished extremely nicely, because you have that continuation of the really high quality brushing on the links. These are H links, and you also have brushing on the top of the center links, which have that stacked appearance. You do have polishing on the slants of the center links. My gripe isn't the appearance, nor is it the materials that they use, because they actually use solid steel here. My issue is more of that they use a pin system that makes this bracelet very, very noisy, very rattly. I think if they use more of like the pin and collar, you would have a little bit more of a refinement. There's just portions here where like it doesn't move as, like right here is a little tight. And in some other places I've seen some tightness because it's just, you don't have that collar acting as a, it doesn't give it that smoothness, whereas you know, without the collar, you just have more of a rubbing of the links, and it's just not as fluid. So you know, and that's where you get that noise too. So a little bit of an issue there for me, but it's not a deal breaker. Not at all, really. It's just another minor gripe that I have. I do like the fact that they use a milled clasp, and it does have that quality click that you'll see right here with the dual buttons and the safety clasp. I know you've probably seen this clasp on many aftermarket straps, but it works really great, feels good. Actually a minor complaint would be the micro adjust. They could have actually fit a couple more there, but that's just a really minor gripe. This does have a diver extension, as you can see here, so that could actually take the place of a couple of, actually it would actually take the place of an actual link taken out if you really chose to. So there you go with that. So not really that big of a deal with the micro adjust if you have that. So again, just a very minor gripe. The end links themselves, as you can see, they really taper in. So and just, it's really, as you can see, that side profile, that brushing is just done extremely nicely. I mean, this is the kind of brushing you'd expect on a watch that costs double its price, if not more. So really nice job. You do have a sign crown with the Spinnaker logo with the coin edging. I didn't mention the bezel edging, but as we take a close look at that, it's like a diamond pattern. It's not a coin edge, which I think also kind of contributes to a grippiness problem as well. It's just not as grippy. But aesthetically, the watch really is pleasing to the eye. Size-wise, this might be a little large for those with wrists that are smaller than 7-inch. But I think because the lug width, or the lug is 51 millimeters. You know, and the fact that the bracelet does taper in the way it does, I think it may actually be a little bit more forgiving for smaller wrists. So it all depends on your style and how you like to wear your watches. But that's all I have for you guys. I'm really impressed. I think you guys should check out Spinnaker. I'm going to put their details down in the description down below. Definitely check them out. I want to thank them for gifting the watch to the channel. I'm definitely a huge fan. So I'll flip the camera around and give you some final thoughts. All right, so there you go, guys. The review of the Spinnaker Diver. I did forget to mention that this watch is indeed rated at 150 meters of water resistance. That is a little bit shy of what you typically see in a diver. Not a big problem for me personally because I'm not a diver. And I'm sure most of you aren't, so I think the water resistance is going to be fine, especially since you're getting a lot of bells and whistles with the lumed bezel, generous lume all throughout the watch, the anti-reflective sapphire crystal, solid end links, milled clasp, exhibition case back, NH35. I can just go on and on. So I think even just aesthetically, this is just a really good looking watch. I just think that it's just a really well executed watch, and I'm really impressed, especially at this price point. So I would really love to have more Spinnaker watches on the channel. I'm impressed by the brand, and I want to thank them once again for gifting the watch to the channel. And I want you guys to remember one thing, that there's always time to be kind to one another. Please take care of each other, and I'll see you guys next time on AvgJoeWatchReviews. God bless, my friends.